The first thing he saw were the signs, two pieces of cardboard, held by two thin hands. The words were big, shaky, and dark with marker ink. "Please help us find Mr. Benjamin Obinna." Cars roared past under the hot Lagos sun. Yellow Danfo buses honked. Smoke from roasted corn floated in the air. And right there, beneath the Oshodi underbridge, two identical girls in torn ash dresses sat side by side, their hair messy, their eyes steady, their signs lifted like a cry. Benjamin Obinna pressed the brake of his black Bentley so hard the car shuddered. His heart did the same. He stared through the windshield, confused, scared, and pulled like a magnet. For one strange second, the world went quiet around him. Only the cardboard signs seemed to speak. He opened the door and stepped into the noise. The girls saw the tall man in a dark navy blue kaftan and red cap walking toward them. They glanced at each other, then back at him, as if they were twins who shared one mind. Benjamin stopped a few feet away. His chest rose and fell slowly. His voice came out soft. "Young ladies," he asked, "why are you looking for this man?" They spoke at the same time, and their words landed like thunder. "Please, help us find him, sir," the girl on the left said. "He's our father," the girl on the right finished. Everything inside Benjamin tilted. The signs lowered. He swallowed, trying to steady himself. How do you know this?" he asked. "Did he go missing?" The girl on the left blinked fast, fighting tears. "Our mother told us. Before she died." The other girl held her sister's hand. Her name was Olivia, a name like a door opening to the past. Olivia. Benjamin felt the ground shift under his shiny shoes. Somewhere far away, a memory clicked. He remembered at a graduation party 15 years ago, laughter, music, a girl with kind eyes and a quick smile. One night, only one night, and then life had rushed on meetings, flights, and the endless climb that turned him into billionaire CEO Benjamin Obinna. He had never expected that one night to follow him into the bright, burning day like this. He looked at the sisters. "Your mother, Olivia, is gone?" he asked, his voice almost a whisper. "She died from kidney stones," the left twin said. "We didn't have money for the hospital," the right twin added. They told him they lived here under the bridge after their grandparents died. No one else took them in. People passed, some looked, few helped. Benjamin felt a sting behind his eyes. He cleared his throat, but the tears came anyway, surprising him like rain on a dry road. "What are your names?" he asked. "I'm Juliet," said the left twin. "And I'm Juliana," said the right. Juliet. Juliana. Two names that sounded like a song and a warning. Juliana squeezed her sister's hand and spoke again, her voice firm. "Before she died, our mother said, the man named Benjamin Obinna is our father. She said he stopped answering her calls long ago. She said," Juliana paused, and her eyes shone. "She said he would never have children again until he finds us and takes us in. She put a curse with her last tears." The word curse hung heavy in the hot air. Benjamin felt something break open inside him. 10 years of a quiet, aching house. 10 years of doctors in Lagos, Abuja, and London telling him and his wife Amaka, "You are both fine. You should be able to have children." 10 years of hope that turned into silence, and then only yesterday, the silence turned into goodbye. He remembered the note he had found on the glass table. Amaka's handwriting was neat but tired. "Maybe we are not meant to be. I have tried to be strong, but I am empty. I will seek a new life. I pray I find a child. I wish you peace." That was Amaka's last words to him yesterday when she finally decided to end the 10 years marriage without a child, even though every doctor repeatedly told them nothing was wrong with them medically. He had held that note like a sharp piece of glass until his fingers hurt. He had not blamed her. The house had felt too big, too clean, too quiet, and he had felt too small inside it without a child. Now, under the bridge, two girls looked at him with eyes that were mirrors. Benjamin took a slow breath. "Juliet, Juliana," he said, and their names felt right in his mouth, like they had been waiting there. "I did not know. I never meant to leave anyone alone. I never got her calls." He pressed a hand to his chest. "I am so sorry." They watched him carefully, as if the truth might show up on his face. He gathered the courage that made him a CEO in tall rooms with glass walls and said the words that shook even himself. I think I think I am your father. Juliet gasped. Juliana's hand flew to her mouth. The cardboard signs dropped to the ground, and for a moment all three of them stood in a tiny circle of quiet in the middle of a loud city. Where have you been? Juliet asked, tears spilling now. Why did you leave us to suffer like this? Benjamin put a hand over his eyes and nodded, as if taking a hit. I didn't know, he said. I promise I didn't know. But I will not leave you now. He inhaled and made a quick choice, the kind he made in boardrooms, but bigger, deeper, scarier. Come with me, he said. We will go somewhere safe, and we will find the truth today. The twins glanced at each other again, then at him. Fear and hope wrestled in their faces. At last, they nodded. Benjamin led them to the Bentley. People stared as the girls climbed in, as careful as kittens. The leather seats swallowed their thin bodies. Juliet reached to touch the silver door handle like it might disappear. Juliana stared at the little clock on the dashboard, counting the ticking seconds of a new life. They did not go to his mansion. Not yet. Benjamin wanted proof, clear and final. A paper strong enough to hold a broken past. He called a private hospital on Victoria Island. Prepare 2 DNA tests, he said, voice tight. I'm on my way. The car moved through Lagos. Sunshine flashed on building windows. Street sellers lifted baskets of gala and chilled water to the windows. The girls stared out at the city they had always known, but from a seat they had never sat in before. Inside the car, quiet sat with them. Then, slowly, words came. How old are you? Benjamin asked. 15, Juliana said. Born in May, Juliet added. Same day, same minute. What do you like? He asked. Unsure. Like a man learning to swim. Juliet's eyes brightened a little. We love numbers. We make patterns with them. Juliana nodded. And we love computers. She lowered her voice. We don't have one. But we look through shop windows. We watch the screens. Benjamin's mouth lifted into a small, surprised smile. He felt a spark of pride he had no right to feel yet. Still, it flickered warm in his chest. They reached the hospital white walls, cool air, a smell like lemon and clean sheets. Nurses stared a little at the billionaire and the 2 girls in ash dresses, but their eyes were kind. Paperwork appeared. Names were written. Swabs were taken. The twins squeezed each other's hands and did not let go. Waiting felt like standing on a thin bridge over a deep river. Time stretched and stretched. Benjamin paced the hall, shoes whispering on the floor. He kept seeing a girl with a quick smile from 15 years ago. He kept seeing a long, quiet dining table, the empty chair beside his, the note on glass, his own face in the mirror last night, older, lonelier. Juliet and Juliana sat side by side on a bench, shoulders touching. They swung their feet, too shy to ask for food, too careful to look hungry. A nurse offered them bottled water. They thanked her in the same soft voice. At last, a door opened. The doctor walked out, a brown folder in his hand. He was calm, but his eyes were bright with the weight of the moment. Benjamin stopped pacing. The twins stood. The hallway felt like a drum about to be struck. The doctor looked from the man in the navy blue kaftan to the girls in the ash dresses. Then he held out the folder. The results are ready, he said. Benjamin reached for it. His hand trembled. Juliet grabbed Juliana's fingers, squeezing tight. Juliana swallowed and nodded, as if telling her sister, "We can survive this next second." Somewhere outside, a generator hummed to life. Somewhere inside, a heart beat too loud. Benjamin slid his thumb under the flap and lifted it slowly, carefully, like opening a door that could change everything. And then, he froze, his eyes locked on the first line. Juliet's breath hitched. Juliana leaned forward, searching his face. The paper shook in Benjamin's hands. "What does it say?" Juliana whispered, voice tiny in the wide white hall. Benjamin lifted his head, lips parting. And the doctor, seeing the tremble, cleared his throat and took a small step closer. "Sir," he said gently, "do you want me to read it?" The folder was still open. The truth was inside it, only a mouth's width away from the world. Benjamin looked at the twins, at their matching hope, at their brave, thin shoulders. He looked back at the paper, and with the whole hospital holding its breath, he opened his mouth to speak. The hallway seemed smaller now, as if the air itself had drawn in closer to here. Benjamin's fingers gripped the paper so hard, the edges bent. His eyes stayed fixed on that first line. Juliet took a half step forward, her voice trembling. "Please, sir, what does it say?" Juliana's grip on her sister tightened. "Is it bad?" Benjamin looked up, his throat dry. "It says—" He stopped, pressing his lips together, fighting the sudden heaviness in his chest. The doctor stepped in, his voice low but steady. "It says you are the biological father of both girls, Mr. Obinna." For a heartbeat, no one moved. The world seemed to pause, so the moment could sink in. Juliet's eyes went wide, the tears spilling before she could stop them. Juliana covered her mouth, then dropped her hands to stare at him fully. "You're our father," she whispered. Benjamin's voice broke. "Yes, I am." It was as if something inside him finally cracked open. 10 years of silent dinners, empty rooms, medical reports with no answers, all dissolving in that moment. He stepped forward, and before the girls could think, he wrapped them both in his arms. Juliet's cheek pressed against his chest. She could hear the thudding of his heart, fast, uneven, almost frantic. Juliana's fingers clutched his jacket, like she was afraid he might vanish. "I didn't know," Benjamin said, his voice shaking. "If I had known, you would never have lived like this. I am so sorry. For everything." They stayed like that. 3 people holding on, as if they could make up for 15 years in one embrace. When they finally pulled back, the doctor gave them a small smile and quietly stepped away, leaving them in the hallway alone. Benjamin wiped his face quickly, trying to pull himself together. "We're leaving," he said, his voice firmer now. "Not to drop you off. You're coming home with me." The Bentley ride was different this time. The girls still sat quietly, but now they leaned against the soft leather with something new in their eyes, caution mixed with a fragile hope. Benjamin glanced at them through the rearview mirror. "I know today has been a lot, but from now on, you will never sleep on the ground again. Never go to bed hungry. Never wonder if anyone cares." Juliana looked at him. "What about our mother's curse?" He paused, his hands tightening slightly on the wheel. "If what she said was true," he replied, "then maybe this is the day it breaks. And I will spend the rest of my life proving to her, wherever she is, that I will take care of you." The gates of his mansion opened slowly, the guards looking twice at the 2 unfamiliar girls in the backseat. The car rolled into a driveway paved with interlocking stones, lined with neatly trimmed flowers. Juliet and Juliana's eyes darted everywhere, the fountain in the center, the gleam of the glass doors, the way the air smelled cleaner here. Inside, the mansion felt like another world. Chandeliers hung like frozen rain, soft rugs swallowed their footsteps. A housekeeper paused, surprised, then quickly bowed to Benjamin. "These are my daughters," Benjamin announced simply. "From today, they live here. Make sure their rooms are ready before nightfall." The girls glanced at each other, still unsure how to process the word daughters coming from him. He led them upstairs to 2 connected bedrooms, one with soft lavender walls, the other painted a calm sky blue. Both had new beds, desks, and large windows. "You'll each have your own space," Benjamin said. "But you're welcome to share whenever you want." Juliet's hand ran over the edge of the bedspread, the fabric smooth beneath her fingers. "It's so soft," she murmured. Juliana turned slowly in her room, her eyes catching on a mirror. She hardly recognized herself in the reflection, ash, dress, and all, standing in a place that felt like it belonged in a movie. Benjamin's voice softened. "Tomorrow, we're going shopping. Clothes, shoes, anything you need. And I'll get you a computer each. You said you love them." The twins exchanged a look that was almost a smile. Almost. Dinner that night was quiet at first. The long polished table, once a reminder of emptiness, now had 3 plates, 3 sets of cutlery. Benjamin kept asking small questions: what they liked to eat, if they could cook, what they remembered about their mother. Juliana told him about Olivia's laugh, how she always tried to make their birthdays special, even if she had nothing. Juliet spoke about how their mother would point to the stars at night, saying, "One day, God will lift you higher than these." Benjamin listened to every word, as if storing them in a place he could visit later. When it was time for bed, the girls stood at their doors, hesitant. "Good night, sir," they said together. He stepped closer, placing a hand on each of their shoulders. "It's not Sir anymore," he said. "It's Dad." Their throats tightened. "Good night, Dad," they said softly. Benjamin watched their doors close and stood in the hallway for a long moment. He had been given something he never thought he'd have a second chance. But as he walked back to his room, he couldn't ignore the weight of what Juliana had said earlier, the curse. If Olivia had truly spoken those words before dying, what else might have been left unsaid? Somewhere in his chest, alongside the joy, a quiet unease began to grow. And Benjamin knew this was only the beginning. The next morning, the mansion felt different. For the first time in years, Benjamin woke up to faint laughter drifting up the staircase. It wasn't loud, more like two whispers tangled together, but it made his chest feel lighter. He stepped out of his room and followed the sound to the kitchen. Juliet and Juliana were sitting at the counter, still in their ash dresses, but now freshly washed, their hair damp and combed. The housekeeper was setting plates of steaming yam and egg sauce in front of them. Benjamin leaned against the doorway, watching them talk in low voices. The way they leaned toward each other reminded him they had survived this world together long before he found them. When Juliana noticed him, she straightened. "Good morning, Dad," she said, her voice shy. Juliet echoed her softly. "Good morning, Dad," Benjamin smiled. "Good morning, my girls." He walked in and sat across from them. "Eat well. Today, we're going shopping." The plan was simple: clothes, shoes, and anything else they needed to feel like they belonged here. But as they ate, Benjamin's phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen. It was his lawyer. "Mr. Adeyemi, excuse me," he said, stepping aside to answer. The voice on the other end was firm. "Sir, I think you should know someone has been asking questions about you, specifically about your personal life before you married Amaka." Benjamin's grip on the phone tightened. "Who?" "I don't have a name yet," Adeyemi replied. "But it feels intentional, like they're digging for something." Benjamin's eyes flicked to the twins, still eating quietly. "Find out," he said, his tone sharper now. "And quickly." When he hung up, he forced his smile back. "Ready for your first shopping trip?" The drive to the mall was filled with small discoveries. Juliet pressed her face close to the window, pointing at every billboard. Juliana kept glancing at the GPS screen, fascinated by how it moved with every turn. Inside the mall, they walked like they were in a dream. Juliet stopped at a mannequin, wearing a white summer dress, and traced the hem with her fingers. Juliana touched a row of laptops in an electronics store, her eyes shining. Benjamin bought them everything they picked: dresses, sneakers, school shoes, bags, and finally, 2 laptops with matching cases. By the time they left, the Bentley's trunk was full. Back at the mansion, the twins rushed upstairs to try on their new clothes. Benjamin sat in the living room, watching as the shopping bags disappeared into their rooms. But the moment of peace didn't last. His phone rang again. This time Adeyemi's voice was urgent. "Sir, I found something. The person asking about your past is a woman named Lydia. She claims to have been a close friend of Olivia." Benjamin's jaw tightened. "What does she want?" "She says she has information about the twins' mother and about you that will change everything." Benjamin's mind raced. Was this about the so-called curse, or something Olivia had never told him? That night, he couldn't sleep. The twins were in their rooms, giggling over their laptops, but his thoughts kept circling back to Lydia. If she had been close to Olivia, why wait until now? At midnight, he walked down the hall and gently knocked on Juliet and Juliana's connected door. They opened it together, their hair loose around their shoulders. "Dad, is something wrong?" Juliet asked. Benjamin hesitated. "Do you remember anyone named Lydia?" The twins exchanged a look. Juliana shook her head. "No, but Mum sometimes mentioned a friend who left Lagos years ago. She said that friend knew a secret about you, and about us." Benjamin's heart thudded. "Did she ever tell you what the secret was?" "No," Juliet whispered. "She said it wasn't time." He forced a small smile. "All right. Don't worry about it. Get some rest." But as he walked back to his room, the unease in his chest deepened. If Lydia's arrival was connected to Olivia's final words, then the truth might not only explain his years of childlessness, it might also threaten the fragile family he had just found. The next morning, Benjamin made a decision. He would meet Lydia face to face. What he didn't know was that Lydia was already in Lagos, and she wasn't coming alone. Benjamin sat in his office at Obinna Group headquarters, the glass walls giving him a full view of Victoria Island's skyline. But his mind wasn't on business. His thoughts were locked on one thing: Lydia. She had called early that morning. Her voice was cool, almost polite, but it carried something sharp underneath. "We need to talk," she had said. "Face to face. I'll come to you at noon." He had agreed, though every instinct told him this meeting could open doors best left closed. By the time the clock struck 12, Benjamin's assistant knocked softly. "Sir, there's a woman here to see you. Says her name is Lydia. Send her in." The door opened, and a tall, dark-skinned woman in her late 30s stepped in. Her black dress was simple but elegant, her eyes sharp as they scanned the office. "Mr. Obinna," she greeted, her voice steady. "Lydia," Benjamin replied, standing. "Please, have a seat." She didn't sit right away. Instead, she studied him for a moment, almost as if she were comparing him to a memory. Then she lowered herself into the chair. "I knew Olivia before you did," Lydia began. "We were roommates in university. She was like a sister to me." Benjamin leaned forward. "And yet, I never met you." "That's because by the time you met her at that graduation party, I was already in the UK," Lydia said. "But Olivia told me everything about that night. And she told me how she tried to reach you afterward." Benjamin's jaw tightened. "I never got those calls. I never even knew she was pregnant." Lydia's eyes softened for a moment, but only for a moment. "Olivia believed you ignored her. She believed you turned your back on her and the girls. That's why she cursed you, as the twins told you." He nodded slowly. "I've heard that from them. But what else do you know?" Lydia took a deep breath. "There's something Olivia never told you. Something about the twins' birth." Benjamin's pulse quickened. "Go on." "They weren't born in Lagos," Lydia said quietly. "They were born in Port Harcourt. And someone else tried to claim them before Olivia could even name you as their father." Benjamin frowned. "What do you mean, claim them?" Lydia's gaze held his. "A man, wealthy, powerful. He said he was the father. He even offered Olivia money to disappear. She refused, but he didn't stop trying. That's part of why she lived in hiding." Benjamin sat back, shock washing over him. "Who was this man?" "I don't know his full story," Lydia admitted. "Only his name, Chief Dominic." Benjamin knew that name. Everyone in Nigeria's business elite did. A man with influence in politics, oil, and places you couldn't see in daylight. "You're saying Chief Dominic might try to claim them now?" Benjamin asked. Lydia hesitated. "I think he already knows they're with you. And if he believes he has a claim, he won't let this go easily." The room fell silent, the hum of the air conditioner, the only sound. Benjamin's mind raced. He had just found his daughters after 15 years. Now another man, one with power and reach, might try to take them away. "Why are you telling me this now?" he asked finally. Lydia's expression softened again. "Because Olivia made me promise. If anything happened to her, I was to find you. She wanted you to know the whole truth, even the dangerous parts. She believed that if you had all the pieces, you'd protect the girls better than anyone." Benjamin exhaled slowly. "Thank you for telling me. But if Chief Dominic is already watching, I can't let my guard down for a second." He stood, signaling the end of the meeting. "Lydia, if you hear anything else, call me immediately." She nodded and left, her heels clicking against the marble floor. When the door shut, Benjamin pressed his palms against his desk. The twins were at home now, probably laughing over their laptops, unaware that a storm might be coming for them. He pulled out his phone and made a call to his head of security. "I want full surveillance on the mansion, starting now. No one gets in or out without my clearance. And keep an eye out for Chief Dominic." As he hung up, Benjamin knew this was no longer just about reuniting with his daughters. It was about protecting them from a man who could take them away. And somewhere deep down, he feared that Chief Dominic might already be planning his move. 2 weeks passed, and Benjamin's mansion felt alive in a way it never had before. Juliet and Juliana's laughter filled the halls. Their rooms, once pristine and untouched, now had clothes draped over chairs, open books on desks, and the constant soft hum of laptops running late into the night. But even in the warmth of this new life, the shadow of Lydia's warning never left Benjamin's mind. Chief Dominic's name hung in the back of his thoughts, like a storm cloud waiting to break. He doubled security, instructed the guards to vet every visitor, and personally drove the twins to and from every appointment. Days became weeks, and slowly the tension eased. Chief Dominic never made a move. Benjamin started to believe maybe the man had lost interest, or maybe Lydia's warning had scared him off. The twins began their university entrance preparation with private tutors. Benjamin made it a point to be home for dinner every evening, listening to their ideas about technology, science, and how they dreamed of starting a company together one day. When the exam results came back, Juliet had been accepted to study data science and Juliana to study software engineering at the University of Nigeria. Benjamin could hardly contain his pride. "You'll be the future of Obinna Group," he told them one night over dinner, his smile so wide it almost hurt. The years that followed were some of the happiest of Benjamin's life. He visited them on campus often, sent them surprise care packages, and attended every important event. 4 years later, they graduated as best students in their respective departments, both giving speeches that left the audience in awe. When they walked off that graduation stage, Benjamin thought about the day under the Oshodi Bridge. The image of their ash dresses and handwritten signs seemed like another lifetime, but life had one more chapter for them. 1 year after their graduation, the twins attended a tech conference in Port Harcourt on behalf of Obinna Group. It was there that Juliet met Jacob, a data analytics consultant, and Juliana met Andrew, a software entrepreneur. Benjamin met them both over dinner a few weeks later, watching closely as they spoke. Jacob was calm, steady, and deeply respectful toward Juliet. Andrew was spirited, sharp, and clearly adored Juliana. 3 months later, on a quiet evening at the mansion, the twins walked into Benjamin's study together. "Dad," Juliet began, "we have something to tell you." Juliana stepped forward. "Jacob proposed to me last week," Juliet smiled, "and Andrew proposed to me yesterday." Benjamin sat back in his chair, stunned for a moment. Then a slow smile spread across his face. "So, my daughters are leaving me on the same day?" They laughed, but their eyes glistened. "Not leaving you," Juliet said. "We're just expanding the family." Preparations for the double wedding began immediately. Benjamin spared no expense, but more than the grandeur, he wanted the day to be a celebration of everything they had survived together. The morning of the wedding was bright and golden. The venue was a lush garden estate, filled with white roses and soft music. Guests from across Nigeria, friends, business associates, and even university classmates took their seats as the ceremony began. Benjamin stood at the entrance waiting for his daughters. When Juliet appeared, her gown was elegant, the lace catching the light. Juliana followed, wearing a gown just as beautiful, the twins' identical smiles making it hard for even him to tell them apart. The music swelled, and Benjamin walked them both down the aisle, one on each arm. His steps were steady, but his eyes burned with tears. As they reached the altar, he placed Juliet's hand into Jacob's and Juliana's into Andrew's. Before stepping back, he whispered to them, "I have never been more proud of anyone in my life. You are my greatest blessings." The reception was filled with laughter, music, and heartfelt speeches. Benjamin gave his from the heart, telling the guests about the day under the Oshodi Bridge, how 2 girls holding cardboard signs had changed his life forever. He didn't mention the curse or the fear of losing them to another man. Those battles were his to carry. All he wanted them to hear was the joy. As the evening sun began to fade, Benjamin stood a little apart from the crowd, watching his daughters dance with their husbands. Lydia was there too, smiling warmly from across the lawn. She had kept her distance all these years, but had always called on birthdays. When Lydia walked over, Benjamin nodded in greeting. "You were right," he said quietly, "about telling me everything. It gave me the chance to protect them." Lydia's smile softened. "And now you can let them go, knowing they're safe." He looked back at the dance floor. "Not letting go," he said. "Just sharing them with the world." Later that night, as the lights twinkled and the music slowed, Juliet and Juliana came over to where he was standing. "Dance with us, Dad," Juliana said, holding out her hand. Benjamin laughed, shaking his head. "Both of you at the same time." They nodded together. So there, under the fairy lights, Benjamin danced with his daughters, one hand holding Juliet's, the other holding Juliana's. The years of emptiness, the nights of wondering why he couldn't have children, the shock of finding them under a bridge, all of it washed away, replaced by the steady truth that they were here, alive and happy. When the song ended, Juliet kissed his cheek. "We love you, Dad." Juliana leaned in on the other side. "Always." Benjamin smiled, his eyes misty. "And I will always love you more than anything, more than everything." As they walked back to their husbands, Benjamin stood still, letting the moment sink in. The man who once thought he would never hear a child call him Dad now had two daughters who had filled his life with light. And for Benjamin Obinna, that was the only ending he would ever need. What is your view about this story? Where are you watching from? If you enjoyed this story, comment, share, and subscribe to our channel for more interesting stories.